Oh, yeah.
We also make. Not everybody. Yeah, definitely.
Are we up and running?
Everybody else.
Going on down that way.
Yeah.
That's the reason why that could, because we did on my school, and then halfway down. You look, you basically lined up with that. That's the way we're in, back in 66, I mean, 60. But they did it that way, so they got the road and, yeah.
All right, it's December 4th, 2023, 5:45 p.m. We're going to call this Finance Committee meeting to order. Present are council members Lang, Shute, Barker, Hauser, and Marmy. First item to keep everybody informed is the unappropriated balance of the general fund is at $376,139. And the budget stabilization fund stands at $1,468,730. First item on the agenda is backwards, so yeah, 2398. I don't know how we got these back. There we go. Is a request for appropriation in the amount of $15,000.
Hey, Mr. Chairman. The request is to help pay the cost of interpreters. I was here with Mr. Director Sad a few weeks ago or a month ago. They ran into the same problem. We've addressed it through next year's budget, but unfortunately this year we're still coming up a little bit short. In fact, my court administrator told me today that if we paid every outstanding bill for interpreters that we have currently, we'd be about $600 in the red. So we believe that the $15,000 will get us through the rest of this year, and then we budgeted appropriately for next year.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Lang, second by Hauser. Any questions and or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor send us on full council signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. That motion passes 5-0.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Next item on the agenda is a request for appropriation amount of $210,000.
Good evening, everyone. This is for Jet Z1. Obviously, it affects the general fund. It's all self-contained, but it has over collected this year beyond what we projected. So we need to appropriate some more dollars. Obviously, Jackie in the auditor's office has certified and collected through, and she came up with this dollar amount so we can get those distributions out before year end.
Motion. Second. Motion by Lang, second by Barker. Questions and or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor send us on full council signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. That motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is a resolution authorizing and directing the mayor of the city of Newark to prepare and submit applications to the Ohio Department of Development for the Brightening Ohio Communities BOC grant program.
The city would like to apply for this program to upgrade the lighting at the 11 different city parks.
Motion. Second. Motion by Lang, second by Barker. Questions and or comments?
This be like an upgrade like to LED lighting or something of that sort.
That's one of the options. Solar lighting, controlled lighting. Quite a variety.
Awesome.
And unless I didn't see any kind of a match or anything or anything.
It's not required.
It's not required. Okay, very good. Any other questions and comments? Yes.
Stephen Smith, 237 Violet Court. I was just wondering if there are provisions, considerations about light pollution, for this, to keep the, problems with light pollution for, migrating animals and, night, vision, impact.
I didn't see anything in the presentation addressing.
Right. Okay,
I think it's, the focus of the grant is energy efficiency. And before, a grant can be implemented, energy audits need to be performed, so that's where the ideas are gonna come from, based on these energy audits.
very good. Thank you very much. That helps. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, send us on full council signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. That motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is a request for appropriation in the amount of $6,500.
Thank you. Thanks to Councilman Barker and the generosity of the Energy Cooperative, the Police Division received a grant for the purchase of drones. So we'd like to get this money appropriated accordingly so we can complete that purchase.
Second.
Motion by Lang, second by Hauser. Any questions and or comments?
Mr. Chair, I apologize. I forgot this was on here. I will need to abstain.
Okay. Very good. Any other questions or comments?
We're gonna do ride-alongs with the drone pilots, like we have ride-alongs, you know, for that.
I'm sure we can make arrangements.
Sounds good.
We're just gonna set it to follow you.
Hear that whizzing over your
Yeah.
house? Yeah, there it is.
Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, send us on full council signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. And we have one abstention.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That motion passes 4-0. With that, this finance committee meeting stands adjourned. Next up is service.
It's all you. I got wait to see.
Yeah, I looked at how thick that was.
Yes.
All right, we'll call the service committee meeting to order. The president, myself, Brad, Neely, Parker, Line, and Shute. Up first, we'll discuss resolution 23-101. The resolution authorizing the conveyance of certain real property now owned by the city of Newark, Ohio to Newark Development Partners as its agent for industrial, commercial, distribution, and research.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. These three parcels are to the left of Elliott Heating and Cooling up on Bonfire Road. That's part of the area that we changed to downtown zoning. We believe we've attracted an end user for that piece. So if we transfer these to our development partners, what development partners can work out an appropriate price and put some stipulations on the end user, such as landscaping and this extension.
parking, things of that nature.
Fair enough.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Parker, seconded by Klein. Any questions, comments from the committee? Questions or comments from the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor of passing this out of council, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That'll pass to the vote of 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Rhodes. I
Thank you.
appreciate that. The discretion of the chair, I've asked Mr. Brandon Fox to join us this evening. We had the legislation that went through in our last meeting regarding regarding selling water to Hayward. Wait a minute. And there are some questions that are being raised about that, or still needing some additional information. So, Brandon, I know you were gonna address us. We're gonna address some of the concerns, and then we can follow up with questions, if that's okay.
Absolutely. Good time.
I appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Yep.
Oh, thank you so much.
So try to, I guess reiterate and get a little bit about what I spoke about 2 weeks ago, but, there was some concern raised as to what this will do or the impact that this will have to the river. And if you remember, basically, we are looking to provide an agreement where we can provide up to 800,000 gallons per day to Licking County, through the Licking Valley Water District. So the 800,000 gallons will be many, many years off into the future. We're expecting that to be about 50,000 gallons a day, day one. And then with future growth that may occur out there and potential connections. So we do have that available capacity currently at our water plant. What I provided to you tonight is, Arcadis is currently working on our water capacity study that we had already initiated about 3 or 4 months ago. And this is some data from the USGS stream gauges that are in the stream. This is the one that's east out by the wastewater plant, so it shows the combined impact of South Fork, Raccoon Creek, and the North Fork. And a lot of data, but the information does show that sensor's been in the creeks or in the river since 1939. So that first chart basically shows the ups and downs of any given year. If you look at the last page, that's a little bit better view, I think, but it's the data since 2009. And obviously the low points on the left-hand, on the y-axis on the left-hand side, it's a million gallons per day that's flowing down that river. And so we never really get below about 50 million gallons, and anywhere up to 2,200 million gallons. So 2.2 billion gallons a day during high capacity times or rain events. Did talk with the design folks and the consultants and engineer at Arcadis today a little bit more about this, and they don't have any concerns that there's going to be a negative impact additionally to the Licking River for some concerns over recreation and things of that nature. And I will say that once this water capacity study is done, we'll have more information than what I've provided here, because we too, we have to coordinate this with EPA, and so any additional water we want to take out of the river, we do have to get EPA's approval so that we can say that the river will have a safe yield that continues past our plant down the river, and so that there can be continued use for recreation and wildlife. So the other concern that I heard was potential pollution and issues of industrial concerns in the river. Number one, I want to reiterate that if there are concerns about that, we do have a industrial pretreatment program that Nancy Taylor runs at the wastewater plant. She is happy to investigate any issues with industries that we have that are on our categorical standard list. And please get that to us, and we'll work with those industries to try to resolve any issues that may be out there. I'm not aware of any, but if there are, we can address those. Also, stormwater coordinator, Lindsay Brighton, she will handle any stormwater issues that may be out there from a potential concern that there might be in the river. So happy to answer any of those concerns when and if they may be there. I don't know that sorry, I don't know that that is a concern for the Hanover or for the Licking Valley Water District. That's a completely different issue, I think, but would be a concern if there are potential issues like that, so. So I think that's what I kind of have. Happy to answer any more questions or.
Sure, one question I do have for you. You mentioned the industrial pretreatment program.
Yes.
Could you explain that a little bit about that process, how that works in a way that we don't need to have an engineering degree to understand?
So every industry that does discharge of our sanitary sewer, they're required to have a pretreatment program from EPA. We are a big enough city that we have to have our own pretreatment program. And we initiate and mandate limits that those industries can discharge to our sewers. And we have folks at the wastewater plant that routinely, some of those industries we're in every week, others we're in every year, some, we're not so often, but we're required to inspect those industries at least annually. And those were actually just completed here in the last month or two. And they have to sample their discharge to tell what they are discharging into our wastewater stream. And that's to ensure that we're not overloading our wastewater plant and causing issues in our plant. So if they do, we can enforce fines and penalties on those industries. Most industries here are compliant, they're a good neighbor. We want them here doing business with them. And so they understand the cooperation that we need to make that happen. On the stormwater side, as part of those annual inspections, Lindsay and that group also do inspections on site for stormwater issues. So if an industry is supposed to have stormwater controls and best management practices to make sure that, mud and dirt and things aren't running off into the river, she will make sure that that's happening. So that's part of our stormwater management plans that are in place through the stormwater utility.
You mentioned about recreation and wildlife. We talked about having some pools, some low areas in the river where there were pools and not much surrounding flow. Address that in any way, shape, or form. Not necessarily your area of expertise at all.
Well, I guess based on the data, there aren't any anomalies that look odd from a low flow perspective. It's just kind of the nature of the normal low flow rain. This summer we did have lower than normal rainfall, and so there's lower rain and rainwater in the river. So I don't know if that's having an impact on that. After I should have printed off the other form that I did that I had today, but as I started looking through this a little bit more, I actually put get into my nerdness a little bit, but put a trend line into this data. The average level from 2009 to today actually has gone up. So that could mean that there's higher peaks when it does rain, whatever that means, but the actual average level in the river has gone up over the last 30 years. So take that into consideration, I guess.
Does anybody on the committee have questions?
Yes, sir. I thank you for coming. I've been researching further. You sent me some great data. This was part of it, I believe, and some more. And I've been doing some more research, and I don't have an answer for the reason the South Fork seems to be drying up in the summer. I don't, and it was interestingly enough, I heard from a resident who's a kayaker, and I guess they're part of that group, and they said, we really hate to bypass Newark, but part of those waterways are just not passable. We have to carry our kayaks for such a long way that it's just not worth our time. And I don't know, I will get with Lindsay about this. I don't know, like you said, there may be silt and rocks, just from the wear of years that may have created a higher basin. And I don't know if dredging is an issue. I don't know if that would upset the ecosystem. But it could be a possibility that we create that balance of data and visual perception.
Yeah, all good. Good options, I guess. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, anytime we do work in the river, we have to, coordinate that with the Army Corps of Engineers. They manage all of that. So the coordination with that of any work we have to do in the river.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Brandon, if and when we decide to go through this and we're selling water to Hanover, that could be studied. If there's adverse effects, we could stop that at any time. Is that correct?
We can study it. We do have, if this goes through, we will have a 40-year agreement with Licking Valley or Licking County that we are to supply them water. There are terms in there that contract could be canceled. I guess if you know, the council would choose to do that in the future because of adverse impacts.
Okay, but we would have the ability to do that if we want.
Yep.
And Hanover has no say as to whether we do this or not. They simply put in a request and we decide yes or no.
For the water service?
Yes.
Yeah, and let me make sure it's not just Hanover, it is that entire service area to the east, yeah. Yeah, they are agreeable to the contract. And they're waiting on the city of Newark to make a recommendation for or against it, yeah.
So if any other community that we're not currently supplying water to wanted to have water supplied to them, that would have to be an agreement between them and us.
Correct, and it would go the same way, you know, you guys, this council passed a resolution in 2021 to move forward with negotiations of this. And we've been doing that since then, and now these negotiations have landed us at this point, which, you know, we're gonna be discussing and voting on some of that. So, yeah, if there's other communities or other, you know, customers that wanna have a bulk rate like this, bulk connection, then we would have those discussions independent of this.
Is there directional limits to this? Is there distance limits to this? Like, I mean, can we only go north and south? Can we go east and west? Can we only go 10 miles? Can we go 100 miles?
You can pump water about wherever you wanna pump water, right? Sewer's a little different because it's a little harder. You either have to drain by gravity or have a pump station. Water is a little easier, just to be able to send it, you know, because you had a booster station and a water tower and you can pump it quite a ways. But yeah, I mean, the limits are basically our capacity. And so that's what I think this capacity study is gonna tell us. You know, to be honest, we have had requests from other communities in the area as to what is our future planning. We've had meetings with EPA because they wanna know it. They're getting requests from everybody in the county about who's gonna supply water and sewer capacity. And so we've had those discussions as well, just trying to figure out how much water each entity has available. And where it can go and when it can go there. So a lot of the, you know, I don't think this is the first, this discussion is going to continue as a whole from here to Columbus, you know, with this Intel thing, it's very possible that these discussions continue and, all the communities in between here in Columbus are having the same discussions, what we're seeing here.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. All right, any other questions? Okay, thank you. I appreciate you. Oh, I'm sorry.
Anybody out here?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't see your hand.
Yeah. There's a couple things, and just to bring up some
Take your
history.
name and address, please.
Doug Marmy, 317 South Other Road.
Thank you, sir.
This all started because Hanover actually has a problem with their water. Okay, so they're having issues with the quality of it. It isn't the amount of water, and quite frankly, they don't have the tax revenue to build their own facility. So that's one thing, just as far as we're trying to help a neighbor here, is what we're trying to do. And it's a small neighbor right now. If they grow to a size, to a certain size where we couldn't supply that capacity, they're more likely gonna then have the funds to be able to build their own. Okay, or something along those lines. So that's the way that I see it, just to get an opinion about this. The other thing about the comments about the water levels and kayakers and things like that, I live along that river. It changes every single year. You are gonna have low spots in certain areas just because pools are developed when the large rain comes, and it'll develop a pool, and then one area will just have a slow flow, and then it'll create other pools down there. So it's not that the water's stopping, it's just, it shifts every single year. And therefore, you will have low spots in that river no matter what on a yearly basis, and it's not gonna be the same spot necessarily. It'll shift, and all of a sudden, one spot that was low one year, the next year is deep, because the big storm comes through and it creates a little dredge in there on its own. And the river dictates where it's going. Now, we have some things in place so that it doesn't do that right where it's supplying into our water supply. But the rest of the river, it's God's will as far as what direction it moves and things like that. Up by the gravel pits, it shifts all the time because you've got those huge bodies and pools of water up there right next to the river. So it really creates havoc. So a lot of that is not necessarily we have less water, it's just it flows differently every single year. And so you will have areas that it looks like it's low, but that same amount of water supply is just moving slower because it may have formed a pool right ahead of it where it's only flowing lightly for a period of time, but there's still a large amount of water in there. So that's just my 2 cents worth as far as that goes, but I do know that being the fact that I live right along the river and I've been up and down that river a number of times and it does change every single year. But I commend our water department and what they're doing and us being friendly neighbors and trying to help a neighbor out. It's not a large community at this point. If they ever get to that point, I really feel like it would be economically beneficial for them to build their own facility. And I don't know, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's kind of my thoughts.
All good statements. Final comments? I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
So just stick around for council to see if there's any discussions and.
I would say.
Yeah, probably happy to, but just.
It's not voted on until next time.
Yeah, we're not voting on it until the next meeting.
Okay.
So I would say probably not. Thanks, Brandon.
Thank you.
All right, that concludes the service committee meeting. We'll stay in this adjourned. Next will be ways and means committee.
15 years.
All right, so we have, Mr. Chu, Mr. Luis, this is it. All right.
Same way. Now we've been all it, so I took road and everything from. All the way down.
All right, good evening. I'd like to call this Ways and Means Committee to order. With me are Mr. Shu, Mr. Lebutis. Up first, we just have one item. It's ordinance number 23-60. An ordinance amending chapter 890 of the codified ordinances of the city of Newark, Ohio regarding the levying and collection of municipal income taxes. A great law director.
Well, I'm gonna pass you guys up, if I may, just a brief little summary of why we're doing what we have to do. So when House Bill 33 went through, there were required changes that municipalities had to make to their tax code, because we, per our charter, are in line with the state tax code, as far as the contents of it. So what I gave you is just a summary of some of the changes we were required to make. So if you look through the 74 pages of the tax code, you will see portions of it in all capitals or bold. Those are the changes that we made. For example, there was a change in how to give notice of a late filing. There was a change in adding a whole section for remote workers. But nothing, and I have Jillian Fruit here from the tax department with me, is corroborative. Yes. Sorry. It was an effort between my assistant, Mike Cox, and the tax department to complete this, so we appreciate her help in any of this. So if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, it's a lot of adding of the word "the" in some sections, also, adding the section G.
saying that we can't give notice at certain times on late filings, things like that. But nothing that's going to shake the ground with our collection of income tax.
That was my question.
Yeah, and the reason it's an emergency is because these tax changes go into effect January 1.
Okay. Okay. Any questions?
It's kind of a
I'll
lot.
make a motion.
Motion.
Okay.
We have a motion by Mr. Hugh, second by Mr. Labutus. Any other questions or comments? No? All right, seeing none, this motion is passed. Let's vote. I have all in favor, say.
Aye.
Okay, motion passed 3-1. We'll send it on to council. Thank you very much. Is this the first one? Yeah.